Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the qualifying for the US Grand Prix, a little bit more about the lies that we're getting from Sky Sports F1. But firstly, I'm going to talk about the Mercedes Formula One team. Now, the sport of Formula One is marketed to us all as being the pinnacle of motor racing. And within that, the Mercedes team is seen by many as being one of the most prestigious teams within the sport. The Mercedes brand has got a reputation for engineering excellence, that reputation for German efficiency, German excellence when it comes to engineering. And indeed, the Mercedes team has had huge success in that of the last 11 seasons, it was the Constructors' Champions for 8 of those 11 years. Now, since the beginning of the 2022 season, when the regulations have changed, the Mercedes team has not been a frontrunner as such. It's still been, well, I say not been a frontrunner, it's still come second to Red Bull on occasions, but it is not at the top of the tree in terms of the sport. Now, this is the third season since these regulations were changed, and we're well into the third season, and it appears that the Mercedes team still does not have a grip on understanding the car. That's a problem. If you have designers and if you have engineers that still do not understand how to make a car quick after 3 years of these regulations, 3 years of this design philosophy, and they've still not been able to iterate that car. When I use the term iterate, what we're looking at is, okay, we've just designed a car. Let's see how this performs. Okay, how do we make that better? Let's throw this component at the car. Let's change this component. Does that make it better? Does it make it worse? So it's an iterative process. Through trial and improvement. Trial and improvement. Trial and improvement. Is it better? Yes. Is it worse? No. And gradually you are on a upward trajectory of making incremental improvements to that vehicle so that it is better. Why is the Mercedes team not doing that? Why is the Mercedes team not capable of understanding, it appears, for this is what we're being told, they're not able to understand what the car is doing. They'll make a change to the car and it is pot luck as to whether it makes the car better or not. They can make another change and, oh, we changed this and the car's amazing. And when we change something else, oh, it just meant the performance has gone completely away. What's the problem? Is this truth or is it narrative? Because these things aren't happening by chance. It's not pot luck. When McLaren are interviewed, when Ferrari are interviewed, when Red Bull are interviewed, and we talk about over the course of a race weekend how the teams get an understanding of how their car is performing at that venue and what it is they're doing to their cars to dial in performance, dial that car in for maximal performance around that particular racetrack. The Mercedes seem to be oscillating left and right of where it needs to be. Oh, this has made it much better. Oh, no, this has now made it much worse. We don't know where to be with this car. Oh, yesterday we were brilliant. Today we're rubbish. What's going on there, Mercedes? You're supposed to have the best engineers, okay, because you're the pinnacle brand within the pinnacle sport. You're supposed to have workers, professionals that have got the minds that can actually understand the data, understand what your drivers that are going out on track and coming back and feeding back and saying, okay, I need this. This is what the car is doing. I need it to be able to do this. I need you to make the adjustments that are going to give it those characteristics that are going to enable it to do that. Do you not have people that are capable of doing that, Mercedes? So we've got a problem with the designers, we've got a problem with the engineers, but the bigger problem is the strategists and the contempt for people. And this is what we now see at the American Grand Prix. And this is the problem. This weekend there's a sprint. Okay, so what we had the first practice session And then we got sprint qualifying. At the sprint qualifying, those Mercedes seemed to be doing all right. They looked to be a fast car. George Russell got P2. Lewis Hamilton looked to be faster than that. He was 0.4 of a second up on George Russell in that first sector. And then his lap got compromised due to yellow flags. And then Hamilton made the error in that he tried to compensate by carrying too much speed into turn 12, ruined his lap time, made him P7. Okay, that felt like it was positive, felt like the car was quick. Great. We then had the sprint race, and despite starting second, George Russell dropped down to 5th. Lewis Hamilton started 7th, gained a place, got up to 6th, but was ultimately around about 19 seconds behind the race winner, Max Verstappen. And Max Verstappen didn't appear to be trying. Let's be clear about that. Didn't appear to be trying. That's a problem. That's a problem. So you're 19 seconds, you're a second a lap behind the car that won that sprint event that wasn't particularly trying. The next time you get to go on track is qualifying. We are told that for Lewis's car, Lewis was experiencing massive problems and it was burning through the tyres, and therefore they had to make wholesale changes to that car in between the sprint race and qualifying. And that was, the Mercedes engineers were working really hard on Lewis's car to make all these changes to it. Now, what difference did those changes make? And the answer is we don't know. And why don't we know? And this is the problem. This is Toto Wolff. This is aimed squarely at you. Pete Bonington, this is aimed squarely at you. You have made wholesale changes to Lewis Hamilton's car, and then what did you do? Well, you have qualifying. You have Q1, 18 minutes. What can you do in 18 minutes? Well, you sat there for 5.5 minutes without doing anything. You sat with Lewis Hamilton's car in that garage for 5.5 minutes without doing anything. Now, you've sent him out on track. He's done a qualifying lap, which wasn't good enough. Wasn't good enough to escape being in the drop zone. He then comes in for 1.5 minutes. It puts all the pressure on. You've got one lap, one attempt effectively to set a qualifying time. And if you don't, you're out. And he didn't do it. He made an error. Okay, didn't get the line right going through turn 12 again. Got the lap deleted because of track limits. Wasn't good enough. Are you giving your driver the best chance of success? Absolutely not. As any team in any sport, any individual in any sport, you have to give yourself the best chance of success. If you've made changes to your car in motor racing, you need to understand what it is that those changes have achieved. Are you just going to waste 5.5 minutes of potential track time just sat there treating the event with contempt, treating the fans of the sport with contempt because you've got such arrogance that you don't give a shit? What you should do is, having made changes to your car that are untested, you send that car out on track. Lewis Hamilton gets out on track at the very first opportunity, right at the start of that qualifying session. He can do 1 or 2 laps. He doesn't even need to set a time, but he can come straight back into the pits and say, okay, this is how this car is performing. I need to do this. This needs to be changed. This needs to be changed. You get a feel for what your changes have done. You need to understand whether or not they are working. And then you go out and try and set a time. You had the chance of 3 attempts at qualifying laps. You didn't take them. You got 2 attempts. You had the chance of utilising those 18 minutes to see if those changes to your car had actually made the differences that you wanted. You didn't. You wasted 7 minutes of an 18-minute session with that car sat in the garage, and now what have you learnt about them changes? Nothing. You treat the fans of this sport with contempt. The American Grand Prix, and even at the American qualifying, well, today at the Grand Prix itself, you're going to have probably in excess of 200,000 fans, all paying £400 a ticket or more to watch their idols engage in sporting contest. They go there, they want to spend their £400 on a ticket, having already spent £60 on a cap with the Mercedes brand on it, or a t-shirt with the Mercedes team on it that's cost them 60 quid as well. And they want to go there and they want to see the people that they support achieve success in the sport that they're going to watch. And you, Mercedes, aren't giving yourself the chance of success, or not setting yourself up to give yourself every chance of success because of your approach to it, which is disgusting. It's treating fans with contempt. You've got a car that didn't work, and therefore the time you've got available to actually try to develop that car, to put it into a window so it does work, you didn't do it. That's filthy. Toto Wolff, that is you. That's the contempt that you treat people with. 200,000 fans, of which a significant proportion of them will be Sir Lewis Hamilton fans or Mercedes fans, and you are quite happy for them to pay their money and see your car start at the back of the grid because you didn't put the time in, you didn't take the approach to give that car every available opportunity to maximise its chance of success. Contempt that you're treating people with, arrogance, filthy. And that is you, Mercedes. That is you. Anyway, a little bit about that sprint race prior to going into the qualifying situation. We are lied to. Yesterday's video was about the tyre narrative, because we're getting the tyre narrative all the time about those soft compound tyres not being able to make it through a whole lap at the Circuits of America track because it's so hard on tyres, right? This is the soft compound tyre, which is the C4, which was the medium compound tyre, the same compound, okay, at the previous race in Singapore that they did 38 laps on. Yet that tyre, same compound that they did 38 laps of Singapore, will struggle to do one lap at the American Grand Prix. Lies. Absolute lies. But again, you're lying to children, and then children will believe you. They'll hang on your every word and believe you. And we'll see it even in the comment section to those videos that I've done. You get the strap-on fanboy or the conditioned mind. Oh yeah, but this is such a different circuit. Oh, it's a unique set of curves. Oh yeah, every circuit is a unique set of curves. Okay, and you think that particular set of curves destroys a set of tyres that can otherwise do 38 laps of a different circuit. But just a small section of curves destroys that set of tyres, does it? You really believe that? The fact is, you are a vulnerable mind that is susceptible to being lied to, and they will take advantage of your weak mind with their lies. That is the disgusting nature of these human beings that lie to vulnerable people. That's a sad fact of it. But look at this. This is the sprint final classification after 19 laps. So after 104 kilometres. So, you break that down. What is it? A 5 to 6 kilometre lap. And they're saying, oh, within a third of that lap, you could destroy your tyres. So these tyres, okay, these are the, I think they use the medium tyres for the actual qualifying, the sprint race. These tyres did 19 laps, all right? But they're saying that the soft compound tyre, the C4, that did 38 laps in Singapore, they were destroyed after 0.3 of a lap, a third of a lap. 2 kilometres destroys a set of tyres, does it? Really? 19 laps. Look at the fastest lap for each of these cars. Fastest, 1 minute 37.46 on lap 19. On the last lap, Max did the fastest lap of that race. Oh, I thought the tyres would be destroyed by then. Carlos Sainz on lap 19 did his fastest lap. You look down this list. Oh, George Russell, the tyre whisperer. Oh, he did his fastest lap on lap 4. Kevin Magnussen did his fastest lap on lap 6. Hamilton, 17. 19, 19, 19, 19. These drivers are doing their fastest lap of the race on the last lap of that race, on the 19th lap. So was it the tyres that were being destroyed as this event wore on? Was that the factor? Or was it the fact that these fastest laps were set when that car had used its fuel load and the car was the lightest? What's the most significant factor? Is it the fact that these tyres are wearing out, like we're being told, like the narrative that we're being fed? Or is it really the most significant factor is as the weight decreases, these cars can go faster? Let me know what you think in the comment section, but well, actually don't, because I know the answer to this. The answer is the car gets faster as it gets lighter. That is the more significant factor. Look at the laps. They achieved their fastest lap of the race on the last lap of that race. So clearly, it's not that the tyres are destroyed. And we are fed the narrative that, oh, Hamilton finished that sprint race and his tyres were destroyed. But he set his fastest lap on the 17th lap of it. So how destroyed were them tyres? Or was it the fact that he got within a certain amount of time of his teammate Russell and realised, well, there's no point in it makes no difference me overtaking George for this one extra place. I'm not going to get past him and the car in front, so whatever. I'll just work on a little bit my car so I can try and do better in the Grand Prix when more points are up for grabs. Is that more really likely what's going on? Another thing to bear in mind, if you look down this data sheet, the difference between teammates is usually about 4, 5, 6 seconds maybe between one driver within the team and his teammate. Now, what we've seen between the two McLaren drivers is about a 30-second differential. Oscar starting very low down the grid for that sprint event, and so did Perez. But the thing is, we know that normally Piastri's and Norris's performance is usually quite equal. And normally, Perez's and Verstappen's isn't. This is quite normal. But over the course of a 19-lap sprint race, Perez here finishes almost 30 seconds behind his teammate Verstappen. So that's a second and a half a lap difference between one Red Bull driver and the other. Whereas everything else, every other team is pretty much 4 or 5 seconds between each driver's max. Makes you wonder whether them two Red Bull cars are the same. We're never going to find out. We're never going to find out if Max Verstappen's car is the same as Sergio Perez's car. We're never going to find that out because we're never going to find out about any of the potential cheats that car ever has. What we do know is that 2021, that season where they introduced cost cap, Red Bull breached that cost cap. We don't know exactly how much because there's differing stories about that. The official version given by the FIA, who are corrupt and therefore never likely to tell the truth, is one thing, but the reports are differently to that. So we're not going to know the truth about that. 2022 season, we've got this notion of a flexible underfloor plank designed to purposefully flex as that car kind of sank down under aerodynamic load. Well, that's illegal. Oh, the FIA decide they're going to deal with that by introducing new anti-porpoising directives. Didn't penalise cheating, didn't penalise purposefully designing your car with a movable component that's not allowed to move like that. No, nothing to see here. This is the FIA, this is Red Bull. We're not going to penalise that. The number of different things. We've got supposed asymmetric braking. We've got supposedly now something to do with the T-tray. This adjustable ride height from within the cockpit. The list will go on and on and on, and we will never find out the truth. But there's never any penalty applied for breaking the rules of the sport. Not to Red Bull anyway. So you can achieve your results with illegal components, with cars that are designed which contravene the rules and regulations of the sport, but nothing happens. You don't get them victories taken away from. Oh, like last year, Lewis Hamilton, his plank got worn out, at this race because the car was running too low and that bottom of the car was scraping on the ground, and you're not allowed to do that. Oh, so what happened then? Oh, we disqualified you. Red Bull, you've got components on your car which you're not allowed to have. Oh, we'll just tell you you're not allowed to have them, and you're not allowed to use them in future. But all them races that you've won with them, yeah, don't worry about them. That was fine. That was fine, Red Bull. This is the Red Bull rules. This is the way that this show works. But anyway, on to qualifying. Um, we'll get the strap-on fanboy that come here with their delight the fact that Lewis Hamilton failed in qualifying. Yes, yes, he did. Okay, but like I say, if you are a sporting competitor, a sporting team, then you give your competitor the best chance of success. Sitting for 5.5 minutes in the pit box without going and testing the adjustments you've made to your car to see if they're going to have the desired effect is treating the competition with contempt, treating your fans with contempt. This is Mercedes Formula One team. Truly disgusting. What we've got here, I will never tire of talking about Gary Connolly, a corrupt steward from Abu Dhabi 2021, and Derek Warwick, the Great White Hope, corrupt steward from Abu Dhabi 2021. Derek Warwick owns a Honda car dealership on the Isle of Jersey. You know, Honda, the power plant of the Red Bull team, the team that he then broke the rules of the sport for, in awarding the victory of the corrupt Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. You know, Derek Warwick referred to Max Verstappen as the Great White Hope. You know, because we've got a Great White Hope, have we? All right. We hope that a white guy can beat the black guy. Is that what you hope? Is it? Is it, Derek? Is that how you view the world? Okay. But you've got a conflict of interest there, Derek. You know, it's good for you, isn't it? If you know, because you've got a Honda dealership. That would be great marketing for you and sell more of your cars if people get, oh, Honda, yeah, they've just won the Formula One World Championship. They must be good. Let's buy a Honda car, shall we? Yes. And guess what? I sell Honda cars. Cha-ching! I thought it was just Susie Wolf that had got the conflict of interest, not Derek Warwick. Anyway, they're corrupt. Back to the qualifying. So, what we saw, and I'm going to go through the audio clips of these, but Lando Norris gets pole, Max Verstappen gets second place. Is that right? No. As much as we cannot trust the authenticity of that Red Bull car, this is the problem we have conflicts all the time with this, and that is, I do not trust that Red Bull car. There's a reason I don't trust the Red Bull car, and that is because the evidence is that they are doing things that aren't right. Okay, we get lots of strap-on fanboys here that go, yeah, but Mercedes are cheating. Yeah, but Mercedes are cheating. Yeah, but the Mercedes cheated with this, and this. Okay, if you think that, okay, if you think Mercedes were cheating between 2014 and 2021, what I would suggest you do is you've all got a YouTube account, go away and make some videos on your channel and become a YouTuber and evidence to us all of the cheats that Mercedes were doing during those years that they were Constructors' champions. Evidence to us all of the cheating that Mercedes did, which would invalidate all of Lewis Hamilton's championships, because I would love to see those videos. And if you can go and produce videos which give us categoric evidence of cheating, then that would be interesting for us all to see. You see, if that is what you want to do it. What I can do is say, we know as a fact Red Bull breached the cost cap. We don't know the true level of it, but we know that they did it. That has been reported as a matter of fact by the governing body of the sport, who has admitted to it. All the other competitors were saying these have breached the cap. There will be documents which will be official documents with the Inland Revenue when they have to report their tax that should be accessible on the Freedom of Information, that would demonstrate that that is a fact, that would be what the budget that they spent. Okay, that should be freely available to everybody. So that's a fact that they broke the rules of the sport then. That will have given them an unfair advantage. It was reported that they had a plank design in 2022 which was designed to flex in certain positions. That is not allowed. The only movable parts of the car's body on a Formula One car is only the DRS flap and the wing mirrors. Everything else cannot be designed to move under while the car's moving. Well, we see the wings flex, and that in itself is a manipulation of rules. It passed the test for the deflection test under a certain weighted load. But yeah, teams still they bend that well. They try and take every advantage that they can. But the fundamental principle is that the car's body should be rigid and is not essentially allowed to deflect and alter its shape as that car speeds up. That's effectively active aerodynamics. Likewise, this plank under the floor should not be flexing under different aerodynamic load, and that's what it was designed to do. That's cheating. That was 2022. We are informed of asymmetric braking devices. Now, again, these are reports. We can't prove that. What you should be able to do is look at the handling characteristics of the car, and there should be plenty of footage demonstrating what is really going on with that car. We're now getting told they've got a lever. Red Bull have admitted they've got a lever within the cockpit which can adjust the ride height of that car. That in itself should be illegal. They're going to claim, oh yeah, but we've never used it like that. Yeah, well, why would you design it like that? Why would you design it like that? So it's a secretive mechanism which you can adjust the ride height of the car. Yeah, but we've never used it like that. Oh, it's all okay. I don't trust Red Bull. I don't trust Red Bull. They lie about the regulations as they did in Abu Dhabi 2021. That demonstrates that they are corrupt. Don't trust corrupt people. When you have Horner, Wheatley and Newey that go into a steward's appeal, which they should be no part of, that lie about the purpose of the regulations of the sport, you are liars. You are not to be trusted. So that's what I can prove. I can prove categorically that those Red Bull people are corrupt liars. I can evidence that. So what I would suggest you do, if you don't like the fact that Mercedes won those Constructors' Championships, go and evidence it. Go and produce videos informing people of that. We'll all watch them, okay? But I can prove it, as I have done on these videos. That aside, Max Verstappen, let's pretend that this Red Bull car is okay. And let's pretend that this should be a normal sport where all competitors should be enabled to engage in proper sporting contest. Max Verstappen was denied the opportunity of getting pole position for that race, and he was denied that through George Russell crashing out. And this is something that is a problem in the sport. We've seen it before. We saw it at the 2022 Brazilian Grand Prix where Russell set a pole position time and then on his second run crashed out and nobody else could set a time. So we saw that all the way back then. And this time, Russell crashing out has denied Max Verstappen the chance of getting pole position for this race. So does the sport need to have provision for the fact that, well, we shouldn't deny people the opportunity of getting a pole position just because somebody else has crashed? It leaves these things open to manipulation on the grounds that you could use the second car in your team to crash to give your team more time to then have another attempt at setting the pole position time. Okay, and dirty teams such as Red Bull would probably use their B team to crash somebody. Oh yeah, just go off into the gravel there. Don't do any damage to the car that we have to spend any money on, but go off into the gravel, and at least that will stop the session and give us a chance of having one more go at trying to get the pole. We know that that's the sort of thing that Red Bull do, and it would leave things open to manipulation. But that being said, there's ways that it can be done. I'm not going to talk about it all at this moment in time, but Max Verstappen was denied the opportunity. He seemed to be on a hot lap, and that lap had to be abandoned because of George Russell crashing out. Now, that doesn't seem fair. Okay? Doesn't seem fair, so this is something the sport needs to look at. Now, sadly, for those of us that are fans of Lewis Hamilton, we have to scroll down here to 18th position to get to where he is qualified on the grid. And like I say, I'm not absolving Lewis Hamilton from blame here. We expect him to be perfect. We're all human beings. Sometimes you don't put together your optimum lap. However, that being said, if you fail to prepare to fail. And if you have done your sprint race and have had to make wholesale changes to your car after that sprint race, and we're told that there's actually a collapsed wheel bearing that Hamilton detected on the warm-up lap to that sprint race. They've had to change that whole bearing assembly on that front wheel and do setup changes to that car, and then, without testing what them setup changes have done, send him out to do a qualifying performance. Well, that's not preparing in the best way, is it? And wasting 7 minutes of an 18-minute session in not doing that is not setting your driver up. That's an arrogance of thinking, oh, well, we'll be quicker than some of these slower cars anyway. We're that good. Well, clearly you're not, are you? Clearly you're not. And that is the contempt that you've treated the fans of Lewis Hamilton. There'll be 40 to 50,000 fans that specifically support Lewis Hamilton. Probably more. 40 to 50,000 people that are going there today to watch Lewis Hamilton, and this is where they're watching him from. From 18th on the grid, because the Mercedes team, no, they didn't give a shit, did they? Yeah, we can piss away 5.5 minutes at the start of Q1. Yeah, we're good enough. We'll just sit in the garage. We'll sit in the garage. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is go through these black thumbnails, which are little recordings I've made from the qualifying session, where we listen to the Sky Sports lies, okay, and the different narrative coming from there. So we'll go through some of these. Anyway, I'll listen to this one.
A quick one as well, if we could, on Lewis in sprint qualifying. Were it not for a lock-up potentially caused by confusion over the yellows over Franco Colapinto spin, thought it could have been potentially a pole position. Are we expecting that they'll be right back on it for this one?
Well, in qualifying maybe, but they need to have done something about the car for the race, because they were losing a second a lap in the sprint race per lap, every lap, effectively. So they had a horrible race car. They were graining their tyres on this new surface. So I'm sure they will have changed quite a lot of things about how they're controlling the heat in the hub, in the brakes, in the wheel rim, in the carcass of the tyre, the sidewall, and getting ready for the race. But you're right, in qualifying yesterday for the sprint, he looked like he should have been on pole.
It'll be interesting. So, Hamilton is a second a lap slower than Verstappen. And then what? So you've just done that race. The next thing up is qualifying. All right. So you've got 18 minutes. 18 minutes of Q1 with which to utilize that time to see if you can make setup adjustments by getting your car on track and lapping it to make setup adjustments. But they also need to put in a fast lap to get you through Q1 into Q2. And then you've got a further time window with which to get your car on track to try and understand what that car's doing and to put a fast lap in to get you through to Q3. You've wasted all of that, haven't you? All of that potential development, track time, you've wasted, minimising your chance of success at the Grand Prix today through your approach. This is the Mercedes team. Not utilising your brains, are you, lads? This is your strategists. This is your race engineers. This is your engineers, this is your designers, this is your team principal, Toto Wolff. This is supposed to be a successful professional outfit, and this is the approach you're taking to it. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Now, Brundle there, he likes to waffle on. Oh, I'm sure they'll be doing changes that'll optimise the temperatures in their wheel rims, in the tyre carcasses, in the sidewalls. Yeah, all right, Brundle. Okay. It's not really that, is it? And like I said, I've talked about the tyres. We always get the tyre narrative is one they force down our throat in Formula One. Oh, the unpredictability of the tyres. This is all going to be about the tyres, everybody. Well, they're producing their fastest laps when them tyres are 19 laps old. Okay, so clearly it's not that much of a problem if they're still able to go fast on them tyres after 19 laps on those tyres. Lewis Hamilton, 17 laps on them tyres was his fastest lap, and then he seemed to back out. And was that because all of a sudden his tyres fell off a cliff, or was it he just, oh well, I've got 2 laps to go? The only car ahead of me that I've got the chance of passing if I wanted to was my teammate, but then we could have a crash out. Don't want to piss around. It's the main race tomorrow. Would it be that? What's ultimately the difference in the pace of them cars? Is it the lighter fuel load? Is it the car getting lighter that makes it able to lap faster? And is it the state of them tyres that is the factor that slows them down? Doesn't appear to be, does it? But we're getting the same bullshit from Brundle. Always about the tyres. Next clip.
Interesting to see if they run more downforce, because when you look at it compared to the Red Bull, they were quicker on the straights, and we never see that. The Red Bull's always the most efficient on the straights, so it's possibly...
Okay, so the Mercedes car was looking quicker on the straights than the Red Bull car. And Jenson Button, another fluff, I want to say the Red Bull's more efficient on the straight. They use this term efficiency. They use it as aerodynamic efficiency to attribute that to Adrian Newey, the genius. Now, straight line speed, that could be due to your car having lower levels of drag. Or it could be due to your engine having more power. Okay, combination of the two. But we never talk about the power outputs of the engines anymore. Back in the day, those of us that have been watching Formula One for a long period of time, we used to get told about which was the most powerful engine in the sport, which was the power unit to have. Okay? Back then, we were told which was, back when Nigel Mansell was the champion, early 90s, they were running the Renault V10, and we were all told how amazing that Renault V10 engine was because of the power. Okay? Now, oh, it's Adrian Newey, the design genius. Adrian Newey, the genius, because it's the most aerodynamic efficiency. Well, we're not saying anything about the power unit. Again, there was a freeze on power unit development because was it Honda were leaving the sport, and therefore Red Bull powertrains was having to set up. Poor Red Bull having to develop their own engines, and then it had to be a freeze on engine development for everybody. So that just to be fair to Red Bull, but then 6 months later, Honda are back, having left the sport for 6 months. They're back at the Japanese Grand Prix that Max Verstappen is declared world champion again. You couldn't make it up, could you? They weren't developing their engine away from the sport, were they? The power output of that engine, Honda power unit, that's not massively ahead of everybody. Oh, we don't know, do we? We don't know. It's all about aerodynamic efficiency these days, isn't it?
Because there's a lot of high-speed corners here that are really putting a lot of temp into those tyres.
Well, when Formula One comes to town, it is usually the biggest party in town, and I think it's got to share.
A lot of temp in those tyres, yeah, but them tyres were doing 19 laps. Next one.
I tell you what, there has been so little work going on in this Red Bull garage. It has properly been a case of just polish it and send it.
The Red Bull strap-on fan likes to polish it. They like to sit in their bedrooms on their motor racing chair, polishing it a lot.
Putting the tape on, they're just look. There you go, Max Verstappen's car. They're putting the double-sided sticky tape on the engine cover just to smooth out all the lines. They are so happy with this car. I think we can well and truly say that the Red Bull wobble is over so far here in Austin.
See, the Red Bull wobble is over. So for the last however many races, that Red Bull car has not been a patch on what it was in the opening few races of the season. 5 or 6 races where it was untouchable. But now it's back. Incredible. Oh, is Adrian Newey designing it again? The one that because he didn't design anything. All these little cheat devices on the car, they're not down to him. But it's back now. The Red Bull's incredible again. Well, how does that happen?
Haven't needed to change anything. Not the case at Lewis Hamilton's car. The sprint race showed us that the tyre wear is off the scale, and that's what they've been.
The tyre wear is off the scale, right? The tyre wear is off the scale. Even though, let's have a look at which document is it here. Is it this one? Tyre wear's off the scale, even though Lewis Hamilton set his fastest lap of that sprint race on the 17th lap of 19. You'd have thought if the tyre wear was off the scale, them tyres would be on their last legs by then and not be capable of setting fastest laps, or his fastest lap. Oh, but it was off the scale for Lewis Hamilton!
Doing major changes on Hamilton's car to try and get that under control. They have just finished those changes, but I've got to tell you, they didn't.
So they've done major changes on Hamilton's car to get that tyre wear under control, is what we're being told. You'd think they'd need to send that car out on track to get an understanding of the impact them changes were having, wouldn't you?
Do half as many changes at all to Russell's car. Russell much happier with the setup going into this qualifying.
Because Russell's the tyre whisperer, isn't he? The car that went backwards. The car that started second and then went backwards. Oh, because he was too busy whispering to the tyres, weren't he?
Than Lewis Hamilton. Not so much going on at Ferrari. They're generally happy. They feel in sprint qualifying when they were third and fifth, they kind of under-delivered. They let George Russell in ahead, and they want to make amends of it as well. Look at Charles Leclerc. He's already in the car, unlike either the Red Bull or the Mercedes guys. Leclerc is up for this afternoon and is ready to go.
Okay, next.
Now for the main course, it's an entree into the pit lane for the drivers already. I can't believe this. There's 2 minutes to go until the green light, and they're all out there queuing up.
They are. They want to get out and do it, but I also think that helps.
Not Mercedes, though. No, they were sat there in the garage for 5.5 minutes. That's a contempt that they treat the fans with.
Them with losing tyre pressure.
Oh, listen to this from Brundle, though. Arrogance from Mercedes, right? But listen to this. So, oh, this is awful for Lewis with those heavily used hard compound tyres, not being able to get that heat into the tyre because the safety car is going so slow down the straights. The safety car is not going full gas down the straights. Oh, this is awful for Lewis Hamilton with them tyre temperatures dropping. But these cars sat out in the pit lane, stationary, not even moving, not even putting any kind of weaving motion through them tyres, not putting any braking force through them tyres, just sat there stationary. You think they'd be cooling a lot quicker than be lapping behind a safety car, yeah? You'd think so, wouldn't you? Oh, it's because they would be, right? Tell us, Brundle.
There's 2 minutes to go until the green light, and they're all out there queuing up.
They are. They want to get out and do it, but I also think that helps them with losing tyre pressure.
Oh, this time it helps them with a lower tyre pressure. So in one instance, the problem is the tyre temperature is the problem. That we need these car tyres up to temperature to give them the grip. Oh, but now we need them cooler for the lower pressure, everybody. Yeah, but as soon as you start heating them up again to get the grip, then the pressure increases back up, Brundle. Let me give you a little graph here, Brundle. Let's have a look at a little graph. I did load one of these graphs up just to show you. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is, Martin. See, this is the linear relationship between temperature and pressure of air. So the air within the tyres, as the temperature increases, so does the pressure, and that relationship is linear. So you might be sat there in the pit lane and everything is cooling down and therefore the pressure is decreasing. But when you go out onto the track, the temperature increases through that rubber and the pressure will increase in that rubber. So you've got your warm-up lap, which is warming everything up, increasing the temperature in the tyres, increasing the pressure. And you're saying, oh, but them sat there is decreasing the pressure, and that's a good thing. But it's a bad thing that the temperature's, see, it's paradoxical. You're lying. You're lying because you're trying to create a difference in these factors. You're trying to say, oh, well, we need the temperature for the grip of the tyres. The rubber needs to be warm enough for it to be sticky enough to create the grip. But we want the pressure low so that actually you get more of the surface of the tyre in contact with the road. Yeah, but them two things, they work in conjunction with each other. The hotter it gets, the higher the pressure. So you're trying to paint the picture. Oh, it's a good thing that they're sat there cooling. Well, it's not a good thing if it's decreasing the temperature of the rubber and it's making that rubber harder in compound because it's not hard. Well, it is making it harder because of the temperature. The increase in temperature should make it more malleable, more grippy, you would say. So that's going to happen as you drive on it. The temperature is going to increase, but that temperature increase is going to increase the pressure. But you need to increase the temperature to get the grip, which is going to increase the pressure. But you're trying to say, oh, yeah, but it's a good thing that they're sat there because it's decreased the pressure. What are you saying to people? You're just a liar. You're just full of bullshit, conditioning the minds of kids with bullshit without explaining the true implications of it. You're just a damaging individual, really damaging individual. In fact, so go back into this bullshit.
There's 2 minutes to go until the green light, and they're all out there queuing up.
They are. They want to get out and do it, but I also think that helps them with losing tyre pressure because they've lost tyre temperature.
Oh, but this is a good thing. Wasn't a good thing in Abu Dhabi 2021, was it? Oh, this is awful for Lewis. This is awful for Lewis losing that temperature. Wasn't it a good thing back then that the pressure was going down there, Brundle? Giving more of a contact patch for the tyre on the tarmac. Surely the loss of pressure would have been a great thing there, Brundle.
And they have minimum. They've got to come out of the blankets and on the car at a minimum.
Oh, so we'll embellish the lie here.
Pressure, which I believe
they'll all get blue flags. You think? Yeah, but
there's 23.5, 21 here, but they do lose a bit of that while they're sitting in the pit lane. I think it's quite helpful when they've got to go out and do a hot.
Oh, he thinks it's helpful now. He thinks that these tyres cooling down is now helpful. It's not helpful when it's awful for drivers driving at a slow pace behind a safety car. That's not helpful, right? But it's helpful when they're just sat stationary in the pit lane. That's helpful.
And get ready to deliver the fastest lap they can achieve this afternoon. Ted, what can you tell us?
More bullshit, no doubt. Next one.
He's got 100 races under his belt. That's kind of an apprenticeship these days, isn't it? Fernando Alonso celebrates 400 races next weekend, which is inconceivable as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, 400 race weekends. And Alex saying in the press conference, I can't quite believe I've overtaken Sir Jackie Stewart as the list of most experienced drivers. Well, he aborts that lap. So comes in at the end of it and obviously didn't feel that it was a lap that was going to count for much. So
100 races, 100 Grand Prix. He's talking about Alex Albon there, being your apprenticeship in Formula One these days. And then we go on to talk about Fernando Alonso. The next Grand Prix is going to be his 400th. Now, let's talk about Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton, as on Wikipedia, is telling us that Lewis Hamilton has had 351 Grand Prix entries. And since Abu Dhabi 2021, where they were trying to retire him off, say, oh, should Lewis retire now that the sport has shafted him out of Abu Dhabi 2021? Maybe he should retire. Maybe Lewis should retire. That was so Lewis Hamilton's done, I think, 63 Grand Prix since then. So you take that away from there, you're talking Lewis had done what, 288 Grand Prix, something like that. 288 Grand Prix. You want to retire him, don't you? You want to say, oh, that's enough of your career, Lewis. That's enough of you. But 100 races is now your apprenticeship in the sport. That's your apprenticeship, apparently. And Fernando Alonso? Oh, Fernando's on for his 400th race. Incredible for Fernando.
A firm message. What they don't want, of course, knowing Lawson will start at the back with all of those penalties.
Hang on, he's come out. I say that, and then car number 30 trundles past me in the pit lane. Sorry, carry on.
What they don't need is for Lawson to beat Tsunoda Tsunoda finishes 11th or something, doesn't get into Q3, and they just cost themselves 2 cars in the top 10.
Isn't it incredible that these commentators can work out the implications of a situation? So, the 2 Red Bull B team cars, you've got Liam Lawson, who has had to take various component changes to the car, which are going to give him grid place penalties, which are going to make sure that he starts at the back of the grid anyway. So having made it into Q2, if he then qualifies, for example, in 10th, he's going to start the Grand Prix from the back of the grid anyway. If Yuki Tsunoda, if he qualifies ahead of Yuki Tsunoda and knocks Yuki Tsunoda out, so that Yuki Tsunoda gets knocked out in Q2, if he deprives Yuki Tsunoda of a place in the top 10 shootout, you're ruining your team's chances of having a car start within that top 10, because you might get into the top 10, but you're going to be demoted to 20th anyway. And the guy that's not going to be demoted, you've blocked him out from competing in that top 10 shootout, potentially. And this is what Brundle has just identified, which is a valid identification of a dynamic that's going on there. Fair enough. Absolutely fair enough. But they're able to identify that, but they're not able to identify that during a safety car situation where you've had to introduce a safety car because that's neutralised racing to deal with a safety incident, that Lando Norris, who was less than 12 seconds behind Gasly, is now being left a lap behind Gasly, and therefore you have to carry out these regulations to restore sporting fairness to enable Lando Norris to catch the back of Gasly, so that when racing is resumed, all of the previously built up advantages are wiped out for all competitors. Instead, we get Brundle going, oh, let's get them out of the way of the race between the leaders. Or, oh, shall we go racing like this? They'll all get blue flagged. Of course, you can't do that. You've left them a lap behind. You can't identify any of that when you're being paid to give a narrative, and yet you've got the ability to talk about that dynamic you just have relating to Lawson and Tsunoda. But then we've got Crofty.
That point, so it is, that's what they need to be careful of with Liam Lawson.
Which, using that logic, is why Ted was convinced he wasn't coming out, and why we all know that as commentators in Formula One, whatever we say 1 second is completely wrong the next.
Oh, what we know as Formula One commentators is whatever we say at 1 second is completely wrong the next. Look at me trying to absolve myself of coming out with bullshit. Trying to pretend that you're not coming out with a narrative. Oh, yeah, this is just Formula One. We can say something 1 minute, but then it's all rendered a load of codswallop up the next because of this. These are the sorts of things that they do to us. As if you're the victims of something. You're the paid liars. You're the paid liars on this show. Next.
First part of qualifying, Verstappen into turn 12. Still looks pretty obedient, that car. It's almost as if it's found a rail somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just beautifully balanced, isn't it?
Yeah, it does look, it's very reminiscent of early in the season. The car just following its nose around the corner nicely, and not complaining at the back end of the car as well. Verstappen pumping in great sector times, and he's definitely giving the white lines plenty of safety margin as well. He does not want to lose a lap time.
Yeah, there's a lot of lap times have been deleted this weekend, and Verstappen has seen in the past here as well that you can easily lose pole position by having lap times deleted. Perez will be next to cross the line.
So what's that telling us? Verstappen's not even trying, because he's not even pushing track limits to optimise his line around the track, and he's still setting fastest laps, effectively. The Red Bull car is going like it's on rails, just like it was at the start of the season. So the last few races, we've seen Verstappen locking up, not being able to get round corners properly, the car not handling how he wanted, bumps. But now it's back on rails. What's going on there then? What's going on there? Oh, has the genius Adrian Newey come back and changed the car back to how it previously was? Is that what it was? Yeah.
And we lost Lewis Hamilton in Q1. He's preparing for a start of 18th on the grid, his worst ever start at this track, and he's talking now to Rachel Brooks.
Lewis, did the team make changes from on the car from the sprint earlier on today to now? Is that what's basically given you that performance today,
Well,
this afternoon?
In the sprint, we had some sort of failure from the formation lap on the front suspension, and I had that throughout the sprint race, and then that made the balance really difficult. We did change a couple of things, which is in the direction of what we would have done yesterday, and the car was a nightmare today in quali. So I think I should probably start in the pit lane because they got to. Otherwise, I won't be going anywhere from where I am.
Just tell us what you were dealing with during that session and what the feel was like and what you were having to manage and what the challenge was.
It's just a very inconsistent balance and no grip.
All right. Good luck tomorrow. Thanks.
I think if the balance is that bad, Martin, the pit lane start might be a no-brainer for Lewis Hamilton tomorrow.
Yeah, and throw a bundle of new. You might as well introduce a fresh engine, a power unit, and all the control, electronics, batteries, what have you.
Careful, Martin. The strap-on fanboy will accuse you of cheating for doing that. So when you take additional components that are over and above your allocation, then what happens is it's not cheating, but you pay a penalty for doing so. And if you're already starting from the back, then that penalty, well, it doesn't make it any worse for you. Okay, it's not cheating. It's just utilising that situation and working the system. It's not cheating. Okay, strap-on fanboy, understand that.
Into it as well and try for a different setup. He might as well, because he's starting, as you point out, 18th anyway when Lawson's had his penalty, and see if they can. That is one of the downsides of a sprint weekend, isn't it? As if a team or a driver missed the moment at the knife edge of a setup and they're not there. And that's new news that Lewis actually had a failure of some sort in the sprint race. It's such a whirlwind of an event thereafter. You can't really put it right.
It's a knife edge of a setup. So how do you best deal with a situation where your setup is on a knife edge? Well, I would suggest you maximise your running time in order to gain the most amount of information in order to better iterate your car. Okay, and make those changes which are going to lead to incremental improvements. Failure to do so would be a failure of your duty to put your car in the best possible position for the contest. That's the equivalent of almost throwing away your chances of being able to compete effectively at a sport. That's treating the fans of the sport, that's treating the sport itself with contempt. That's Toto Wolff. That's Sir Jim Radcliffe. That's the whole of the Mercedes team. Lewis Hamilton saying, though, yeah, we've had to change a load of things from the sprint race. On the way to the grid at that sprint race, Lewis Hamilton was complaining that there was a problem. Mercedes reported back to him, yeah, there's nothing on our data. So probably the data feed that they're getting, the sensors that they have, wouldn't have picked up the problem. But the driver can pick up a problem. The driver can tell the team something is not right here. Mercedes, I think I'll play this on the next clip, I think. Let's have a look.
For this one, I've just got some more info from Mercedes on this suspension problem Hamilton was talking about there. Apparently it was a bearing problem, guys, in the front suspension. All the components were changed between the sprint race and the start of this qualifying session, say Mercedes. No suggestion of any kind of recurrence of that bearing problem, but obviously the consequence was that Lewis just wasn't happy with that car.
Okay, bearing. When you fit the tyre to the car, you can do various checks to ensure the integrity of the bearing. What are you doing, Mercedes? You're sending a car out on track where there's a bearing problem that the driver can identify on that outlap, and yet when you've got the car in the garage, you've got it perched up on the jacks, you've fitted the tyres to it, and then you've not done any basic checks. You've not just spun the wheels, not just spun them tyres around just to check there's no issues. You've not just given them a bit of a wobble to check there's no play in the bearing. These are your race engineers, are they? These are your mechanics working on the car. And that you're sending out a car onto a track to drive around that track at speeds in excess of 200 miles an hour and you're not performing basic checks like that, that's a negligence. There's a problem there. That's a big problem. This is the caliber of your employees. This is the efficiency of your operational standards as a Formula One team. Absolutely piss poor. Now, you're telling us also the setup changes. You're telling us that this car was eating its tyres during 19 races of a sprint race, and therefore you're going to have to change setup on it. If you change setup, you need to go and test that setup out to see what handling characteristics it's giving you, and to see if that is going to give you the setup, the optimum window that you want it to be in. You're not giving yourself a chance. You pissed away 5.5 minutes at the start of that session. You've then had another minute and a half in the pits before going out again. 7 minutes of an 18-minute session you've pissed away. 7 minutes that you could have utilised as track time for development of that setup of that car to improve your chances in that race, and you've pissed that away.
For this one, I've just got some more info from Mercedes on this suspension problem Hamilton was talking about.
Oh, we've played this one. We'll play the next one.
He did say on the formation lap on the sprint, didn't he, Lewis? I'm feeling a clicking. I can hear a clicking.
Yeah.
Something feels not right.
He thought it was coming from the brakes, if I recall.
That's right.
But yeah, he felt that. So.
Absolutely right.
And survives that one, and he lives to fight another lap. Here he goes then, Martin. Can he beat Lando Norris?
Well, he'll know where, if he's left any time on the table anywhere. He's certainly left a margin up against track limits, so he's got that available to him. And we'll see if he uses it. He's carrying superb speed through there, isn't he? As this is the section, as I said, that gets tighter and tighter. Nice, sweet. As a 24.8 first sector. So he knows he's got to wring its neck a little bit up against track limits. He got away just fine with
Right. Max will know he's got to wring its neck a little bit up against track limits. Okay, wringing its neck is not going easy in that first third of a lap, isn't it? We're using qualifying tyres. We're using the soft compound of tyre. Yesterday, Martin, in qualifying for the sprint event, you were telling us, oh, you've got to drive that out lap as if you drive into the shops. And then the first third of the lap, you've got to take it easy. And that's how you set a fast lap time. Because these soft compound tyres, the C4 compound tyre that did 38 laps in Singapore, yeah, the same compound of tyre that can only do 2/3 of a lap at the American Grand Prix, right? Yeah, you've got to nurse them for the first third, and that's the only way you'll set a fast lap time. Here, the day afterwards, you're telling us you've got to wring its neck, Martin. Again, all you're doing is you're just feeding everybody a bunch of contradictions. A bunch of contradictions, lies. No consistency in what you're saying. Lying to children. Lying to children. That makes you an abuser, Martin Brundle. An abuser.
It's a nice, sweet, as a 24.8 first sector. So he knows he's got to wring its neck a little bit up against track limits. He got away just fine with.
If you're wringing a neck up against track limits, what are you doing? You're putting massive lateral load against things. Massive load through tyres. Pushing hard.
Turn 9. Turn 12 is another one at the end of this next straight.
But are we wringing its neck after sitting in the pit lane for 2 minutes to allow them pressures to go down, Martin? Is that what he's done? Did he think the optimum way of setting the pole position lap would be to sit there without the blankets on for 2 minutes, allowing the pressures to decrease, yeah, and then go and do it? Oh, you still got to do the warm-up lap, warming it back up again, increasing the temperatures back up and pressures back up again. But like at the start of the session when you lied to us there, was he doing that? No, he didn't do that, did he? They went back to the garage, they put the tyre warmers on there, and he went out on the warm tyres that were warmed up. Didn't just cool them down for 2 minutes. Oh, yeah, we think we'll cool them down for a bit, because now reducing the pressures is the key thing. Is it tyre wear or is it fuel load? Is it heat in the tyres or is it coolness in the tyres? Oh, which is it to be, Martin? Because it's all contradictory, isn't it? And nobody knows in this highly complex technical sport. And they'll all get blue flags, you know. And how long will they wait? But that's normally on a wet day in Belgium. Lies, Martin. Lies.
All looking good, and Norris is 2/10 down in the first sector, has not had even a personal best there. The door is open for Verstappen here and pole position.
Who will want to walk in, I'm sure. There's a yellow flag in the final sector. It's George Russell. He's gone off into the barriers. Max Verstappen is going to get to that scene very, very soon, and he's going to have to slow down, and that will cost Max Verstappen a chance at pole position. It's cost George Russell, who's gone off into the barriers. He seems to be okay, and that's the main thing here, but the medical car has been deployed. George says he's okay. That's brilliant. He's getting out of the car. That's even better. But that should end this qualifying session.
That's double waved yellows. Nobody will get a time.
And puts Lando Norris on pole then for the US Grand Prix. And for Norris, it's a 4th pole in the last 5 Grand Prix. And it's exactly where he wanted to be.
So, I don't like seeing crashes in Formula One. I don't want to see drivers injured. So, as much as I don't like George Russell, I didn't want him to be injured. The fact that his crash destroyed the chances of the other drivers improving on their times, well, that's something that needs to be looked at. Ruined Max's chance of getting the pole position. Again, not that I want Max Verstappen to be on pole position. No, I don't. And the reason that I don't is because I don't trust that team. I believe that car isn't a legal car. There's too many reports of failings and breaches of the regulations. So, that clearly makes me not want that team to have any success. But again, assuming that there is, pretending that car is not a cheap car, he shouldn't be denied the opportunity of achieving pole position for a Grand Prix. And that's something that the sport needs to be looking at. The Ferraris, Sainz was saying that he was up on his previous time and likely could have improved. Everybody is denied that opportunity just due to a car crashing out, and that doesn't seem right. And in a race, like we know, racing has to get neutralised, and because they've started that race with a certain fuel load, and they lap behind a safety car, and that fuel's being used up, you can't add laps to the race. Qualifying session, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to just pause it and say, okay, well, we're going to give 5 minutes and you're going to get an out lap, a qualifying lap, and that's it. Okay, if that's what they have to do, okay, we've got this has blocked everybody off from setting that time, so we're now going to say, right, we'll pause that now, get that recovered, get it out of the way. The clock starts right now. You've got to everyone's got to dash out there, quick warm-up lap, 1 lap, and at least you've given people the chance. But again, these are things that could be looked at. Let me just see what the other recordings were.
And I'll just wind it in, because this part here, I feel like Verstappen just misses the apex ever.
Oh, you can't miss the apex, can you? Because that means you've tried to kill somebody. Oh, if Lewis had hit the apex, I'd say racing incident. But because he didn't hit the apex, then I'd have to say that Lewis is to blame.
So slow. Play it in the slowest motion that we have, and just look, he misses that. That he's not even really troubling the white line there, is he, at the apex, compared to when...
Oh, he has to hit the apex. He has to hit the apex. Otherwise, it's not racing. It's not racing if you don't hit the apex. No, that's not how it works, kids. Okay, you don't have to hit the apex. You don't have to hit the apex. This is on qualifying. When you're racing, you don't have to hit the apex. What you do have to do is leave the other car that you're contesting with track room. You give them space, they give you space. Max Verstappen had space. He had 3 car widths to his left at Silverstone 2021. Hamilton, whether or not he hit the apex or not, is irrelevant. Nothing to do with the apex. It's about respecting your opponent and giving each other racing room.
Norris gets there. Look how much curb in comparison that Norris is able to take, or does take, compared to where Max is. I roll it back, he's still a little bit ahead on circuit, of course.
So one can miss the apex, one can take a lot of curb. A lot of curb. And what's it difference there? Qualifying time by, what, hundredths of seconds? See, it's not that much of a problem, is it? Unless you're a strap-on fanboy and you think you know something about the sport, because you've been lied to.
I mean, we watch them on TV, but the first one in person.
Cool. And impressions? Did you like it? The noise was good?
The noise was fine, but I have to say, the correlation between the Circuit of the Americas people and the actual F1 is not the greatest.
Correlation in terms of what? Getting you access and stuff, or?
I mean, there's been a lot more positives to the weekend than just that. But yeah, it does seem like the folks at the venue and the folks at F1 sometimes don't know what, they're not on the same page, but whatever. Okay. There's also a lot of amazing stuff though, right?
No,
like
fine.
going.
Well, that's the dad trying to smooth over what the kid's saying. The kid's trying to eloquently articulate something, which I'll come to in a second.
On the track.
Truth from kids shall always come.
That's
I haven't
right.
got a problem with that. That's
great.
fine. I want to know.
He'll fill out the comment card later.
He's a consumer too.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, the kid's a consumer. Yeah, the kid will be wanting a Mercedes cap that costs £60, or $100 or whatever the Americans think that their dollar is worth compared to a pound. The kid will want a Mercedes or a Red Bull or a McLaren T-shirt that will cost £60. The kid will want to, will have to have £200, £300, £400 worth of ticket to be there. He's a consumer too. And the kid's saying there's a correlation difference between the F1 people and the normal folk that attend the circuit. The kid's already noticing that some of this is full of shit. People will wake up. People will see through the bullshit. All the Emperor's New Clothes Brigade, the big fanfare, the lies, the facade. People are going to start seeing through it. A kid's seeing through it. A kid is seeing through it. And with the aid of these videos, I hope a lot more people start seeing through it. So this is the show of Formula One. The contradiction. The lies. These people, they do know what they're talking about, and yet they're filling the space with narrative. Oh, the tyres! The tyres won't last a lap! But they're setting the fastest lap on the 19th lap of 19. Oh, that's not the regulation. The lower temperature is great for the tyres. Oh, it's terrible that these tyres are getting cold. All of the bullshit. All contradictory information. 1 minute it's one thing, the next minute's the next. And the kids are just taking that in without the ability to think. Without the ability to go, hang on a minute, you just said this, and now you're saying this. Why are you filling the airwaves with bullshit? Oh, but it's not bullshit. It's not bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And people will wake up to it. But you don't care about that. You just care about consumers, don't you? You just care about consumers and money. Mercedes, you clearly don't care about people. You care about money. Toto Wolff, the billionaire. Sir Jim Radcliffe, the billionaire. Yeah, you don't give a shit about the 200,000 people that are going to be there today that wanted to, some of them, a big proportion of them would have wanted to see Lewis Hamilton have some sort of success. And you didn't give him any opportunity for that. You didn't give him the best opportunity by saying that we've had to make changes to this car. Let's go and put that car on track and see if them changes have done had the desired effect. No. Treated them with contempt. Because you don't give a fuck about people. You give a fuck about money. That's all you give a fuck about. The billionaire. The billionaire. Lovely people. Anyway, that'll do on this one. I'll see if, probably if I get a chance to watch the Grand Prix later, I might do a video reflecting upon that. Thank you all for your time. Cheers.